Matt, standing with you on this one, as a day in life is here, already saying the news hurts this as well, and Jenny Stewart fan hard as well. Matt, standing with Adam says as well, very sad news regarding Stewart-Haas Racing. Hopefully, everyone can find new jobs going forward. It is big news at Day in Life. I think a lot of the people are feeling the same way today, says our own Ben Schneider as well. And SHR is, of course, a Ford team in the NASCAR package. Matt, starting with you on this one as well. We know this news isn't too surprising since we've expected it for a while now. But is it still stunning to see how far Stewart-Haas Racing has fallen from being championship contenders and a threat to win every single week to struggling performance week in, week out in the 2024 season? And now, of course, they're out of the sport at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, guys. News that we kind of expected coming down the pipe for a couple of weeks, and now we finally got it yesterday with the big announcement that we kind of got word of that was going to happen over the weekend. And then we knew something was going to happen. And when you know that, the big rumor is that this is going to happen, and then that's the news. It's not altogether surprising. But the drop-off has been pretty dramatic, hasn't it? I mean, 10 years ago, they were winning the championship with Kevin Harvick, and now they're out of the sport. The last couple of years have not been great, with Harvick kind of keeping them relative, I suppose you would say, really. If you look at the points tables for the last couple of years against the rest of his teammates, I know they've had people out with injury and sponsorship changes and all kind of manner of things, but Harvick's been the constant there. And now, of course, he retired at the end of last season, as we know, up into the Fox booth. And this year, there've been some bright spots from time to time so far this season, but generally it has been a struggle. And with Tony kind of more and more going his own way in the drag racing world, and obviously maybe this is going to put more focus on Gene Haas's involvement in the F1 team. We'll wait to see, but it's not surprising the way things have been going if you've kind of been sort of following along with this story over the last 6 to 8 months, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it even goes back further than that. When you talk about 2021, when Kevin Harvick went winless after having a tremendous 2020 season, and the rest of the team kind of didn't really have the performance. And then 2022, with the new car, saw a little bit of an uptick. But then last year, I mean, you just looked at how Kevin Harvick wasn't able to go to victory lane in his farewell year. And I mean, that wasn't for a lack of effort either, because there were several races where they came close. But you look at guys like Chase Briscoe and what happened at the Coca-Cola 600 last year, and that massive penalty and just the lack of oversight with things, and just how far off I guess the 10 car was and how far off like the 41 has been. It just has been a slide downward, and it's really unfortunate to see, because like you mentioned, I mean, even 6 years ago, you had this team putting 4 of their cars in the round of 8, literally half of the round of 8, and now they're not even going to exist. I mean, 69 race wins, 2 championships. I guess personally, is like, somebody who's followed the sport for a while, it's really just shocking to see, considering I remember when this was all starting up and how exciting this was and how much it really kind of revitalized the sport in a certain way, different blood, and also, I guess, influence guys like you see Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski kind of doing their own thing as well. It's really just, it's sad. It frankly is sad, no matter which way you shake it.
Take a look at some comments that have come in as well from the chat room. And Adam says, if you look at it, SHR lost sponsors in Bush Beer and Smithford Foods as well. That's huge. They have lost a lot of it over the past couple. And we've been having this year as well, revolving sponsors coming in and out. I've noticed on the side of the doors. Ben says, if Gene's looking to get out of the sport entirely, I think I know a guy who might be interested in being a buyer. Well, what was it? Perez had £2.3 million worth of damage, but the 2 Haas cars combined had double. So, yeah, definitely a big bill in Monaco as well. Was there a last comment I missed there? Or was that still from Ben there at the bottom? I think it was. Ben, Andretti Global says, yeah, definitely Andretti Global coming in as well. Thank you for that one, Kobe. I don't know. That'd be fun though if it is. Well, then again, I'm sure you'll get on later on about what the comments that the FAA president have been making on the latest Andretti situation and all that lot as well. Now, looking more closely at the history of SHR, Gene Haas started fielding cars in the Cup Series way back in 2002 under the Haas CNC Racing. Then in 2008, Haas announced they'd team up with Tony Stewart to form Stewart-Haas Racing, which debuted in the 2009 season as a two-car operation with Stewart as an owner/driver and, of course, Ryan Newman as his teammate. Really is weird hearing Ryan Newman. I've got a cousin as well with last name as Newman, and the cousin, same, used to be her last name, double-barreled. So it always triggers me with that one. Still, Stewart got SHR its first win in the All-Star race at Charlotte, but earned the first points-paying win a few weeks later at Pocono. In the team's inaugural season, Stewart ended up winning 4 Cup races, which would set the tone for years to come. Then just a couple of years later, Stewart went on this magical late-season run with departing crew chief with Darrell Grubb, where the pair won 5 of the 10 playoff races en route to winning the 2011 Cup Series Championship in an epic tiebreaker. 3 years later, of course, SHR were champions again in 2014 with Kevin Harvick and crew chief Rodney Childers as well. You mentioned earlier on, Matt, about Kevin going up into the Fox booth now as well. Harvick scored 37 of his 60 career Cup wins with Childers as well as his crew chief. SHR also won the 2017 Daytona 500 with Kurt Busch behind the wheel. Stewart never won the Great American Race as a driver, but he got to enjoy the crown jewel win as an owner. Now, at the moment, SHR has 69 Cup wins, 339 top 5s, and 695 top 10s. In Xfinity, they have 22 wins, 104 top 5s, 181 top 10s, and last year's Xfinity title with Cole Custer. Now, before the team closes its doors at the end of the year, they'll certainly hope to visit victory lane one more time in the Cup Series, but the last SHR win came 654 days ago at Richmond when Harvick won his 60th and final career Cup race on August 14th, 2022. Denny Hamlin has published a statement saying we should take this time to thank Stewart-Haas Racing for everything they have done for our sport over the last couple of decades. They've turned contenders into winners and winners into champions. While this is the last chapter for them in the sport, it will begin a new chapter for others. Let's celebrate all of their accomplishments and wish them well in the future. Now let's take a look at what SHR members are saying about the team ceasing operations. Chase Briscoe starts it off as well with his comments coming through. If the statement is not there or not. Not yet. No, not yet for me, I'm being told as well, coming into it as well. I've gone forward in the script because my eyesight is not that great. I've jumped the script. So, Jonathan, starting with you to go back to that. Can SHR win at least one more Cup race before it shuts down? And what is your favourite SHR memory?
Absolutely. I think I'm so impressed with what Josh Berry is doing, with what Noah Gragson is doing, Chase Briscoe. Ryan Preece, I think, still needs some improvement, but like those 3 drivers have been doing so well with like just with the way things have been, like facing like a shutdown over there. You know, you look at Josh Berry, who is on a run of 2 consecutive top 10s right now. He's run well in other races. Certainly, I think he has race winning speed. Maybe one of these short tracks or, you know, the intermediate programs are really improving. We've seen RFK show speed for the Fords. I think he could possibly win. Rodney Childers is he's always going to pull an ace out of his sleeve. We know it from Rodney Childers. And Chase Briscoe, I think, has been showing that he's capable of showing up at times where you wouldn't think he would. You look at Texas last year, where obviously end of a really bad year for them, and he was up there battling with Bubba Wallace and William Byron, some real perennial favorites. And then, of course, with Noah Gragson, I said this after Phoenix, and I'll keep on saying it, but Noah Gragson, I think, is the most improved driver in the whole Cup Series. And he's going to keep on learning more and more as he gets into more different situations and gets closer to the front. And I think if some things work out just right, he could possibly score a victory too. I'll never count on Ryan Preece either, because he does have a certain level of talent that I think could easily win at a short track if the right things go his way. But I do think they need some work. Now, memories. You touched on one of them when you're going through the history. That 2011 chase run was just magical. I mean, for anybody who was around at the time, just seeing the week-to-week bouts that Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards would have with each other, both on the track and off the track, where Tony got out of the car at Martinsville and he said, "You better be worried. You better be scared going into these final races." And sure enough, he did it. And I mean, if you look on YouTube, there's that press conference they did going into championship weekend. That was just a fantastic time. Also want to give an acknowledgement too to Ryan Newman winning the 2013 Brickyard 400. That was a great win. Strategy call, getting to win as a Purdue graduate Boilermaker. That was pretty cool too.
Adam's picking Ryan Priest to win at New Hampshire in a couple of weeks' time. That'll be a fillet, wouldn't it? A track that they won at before, of course, with Eric Almirola a couple of years ago. For the prospects going forward for this season, I think if it's going to come from anybody, it's going to come from Josh Berry. He had a more than half a chance of winning at that crazy tyre race at Bristol a few weeks back, and was in with a great chance there. If only they pitted a couple of laps later, he may, on that final stop, he may have been in with a chance there to get a victory. But it's still going to be tough. I've said at the start of the year, I'm not sure if we said it on this show or on other platforms, that Chase Briscoe potentially leading this team was going to be a struggle for SHR. And again, no offense to Chase, but it's not exactly filling with massive cup experience a couple of years in to lead a 4-car team was going to be tough going for them, and seems to have proved to have been that way so far through the first quarter or so of the season. Have to agree with Jonathan, that 2011 Chase run from Tony Stewart, just every week it was just building and building and building momentum and excitement, and even the final race at Homestead was just superb. And my other favourite memory was Kevin Harvick winning the championship, because I think I called it after about 4 races, and we'll see when we get to the pick the winners leaderboard later on. I'm not actually that good at making predictions, but I called that one way out. I wish I put a bet on because that would have come up nicely. But you could just see in the early stages of that season, he won a couple of races on the spin, he was going to be in contention, and to take it all the way through the year and win it was great, and just madness. So that's already 10 years ago, but here we are. It's a shame. You mentioned Xfinity, Josh. There is not just the Cup team we've got to think about. Of course, it's the Xfinity series guys as well that just run on that program in terms of crew guys and all the part of the team. And as you say, Cole Custer won the championship last year, and they're going to be out of there as well as one of the only 4 teams in Xfinity. Hopefully someone will pick up the Mustang baton in the Xfinity series in years to come.
Absolutely. Now, I've found the problem as well for not needing these. I've got myself a magnifying glass, so I should be able to read the script now, so I don't jump anymore going forward to it. So now, shall we take a look at what the SHR members are saying as well about the team ceasing operations, and begin with, yes, Chase Briscoe. And I need the magnifying glass to read that. Stewart-Haas Racing has been home to my family and I for the last 7 years. And at the end of the year, myself and the entire organisation will be looking for a new home and new opportunities in the Cup Series. I have amazing partners behind me and can't wait to get them back in victory lane. Crew Chief as well, Ronnie Childress, his statement says as well, 1 championship, 37 wins, 25 poles, 151 top 5s, 235 top 10s since the last 4 team came together at SHR. And we are just getting rolling without Josh Berry as well. But most of all, we have been a family that truly cares and loves every person. We ain't done. As well, come into it. Josh Berry put, today was a tough day for all of us. It is pretty hard to find the right words. I'm proud of our team for how they have been handling this and will going forward. RC is a true leader. We will keep racing our hearts out every Sunday. Cole Custer and Riley Hersbert as well put statements out saying, pretty heartbreaking to see the stretch that Tony, Gene and everyone at SHR had was extremely impressive. We're going to fight the rest of the year to finish strong. And Riley says, at Stewart-Haas Racing, picked me up when I was at my lowest, and I'll be forever grateful to Tony and Gene for helping me grow, not only as a racer, but as a person. Looking forward to finishing the season going strong. Matt, starting with you on this, do you agree with Kevin Harvick that his number 4 team basically carried the organisation? And do you see the current SHR drivers finding homes in 2025?
Well, I made mention of it earlier on.
Mm.
Yes, I do agree with KH on that sentiment, because the stats don't lie and the championship tables don't lie. And we talked about it throughout the year before. He's had paid drivers in the Harvick era, let's say. Obviously, we're not really counting this year, but in the Harvick era, he had paid drivers as teammates. Eric Almirola, Danica Patrick. Okay, they're talented racing car drivers, but they're bringing cash. I mean, Eric Almirola retired and was asked to come back by his sponsor for one more season last year. And, he's gone on and won a race in Xfinity this year with Gibbs. But still, Harvick was the focal point of that team. And you only had to see last year where all the hubbub about him retiring, there was no talk about any of the other cars in that stable for ages, apart from when it was going wrong. So, back to points we made before. Josh Berry's doing great, but it's his first full-time season. Chase Briscoe's, again, got some good financial backing behind him. He's trying to lead that team. It's not really going the way expected. And maybe it was, keeping going for Harvick's sake, potentially, for the last couple of years. Maybe if Harvick had retired, a couple of years ago, we may have had this conversation on the show 18 months ago, so maybe he's got it spot on. And to his comments about maybe Tony and Gene having hands-off approaches, we've seen that with the F1 team with Gene. When was the last time he was at a Grand Prix? If ever, in the last couple of years, post-COVID perhaps. And it's the same there with the NASCAR team. Tony pops up now and again, but his focus is on the NHRA. So it needed someone to grab it by the scruff of the neck and get something going, as Kevin kind of said there, and it really hasn't happened. And in the end, they've just gone, nah, we're done.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, like you said, like the stats do not lie. Like I'll read it to you. Like 6 positions, 3 positions, 2 positions, 4, 5, like 4 again. If you're wondering what I'm reading off, I'll read a couple more. 6, and I think 9. I'm reading off how much better Kevin Harvick's average finish was compared to the next best average finish of a Stewart-Haas driver. I mean, that 4 team was head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's not a knock on the drivers that were around at the time, because there were some great drivers. He had Kurt Busch. Of course, he had Eric Almirola, who had a really good 2018 season. He had Clint Boyer, who was there, who had some success. But I mean, they got their lineup in 2018, and it was just a gradual decline from there. What happened, with the team? It's really unfortunate to see. And I going back to the original question, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. I do agree that Kevin Harvick carried the organization, in part because he was such an elite driver, but also because of getting credit to Rodney Childers as well, like being able to meet Harvick where he's at with his talent and everything. And I think this season, the fact that he's been able to really help Josh Berry and that they've been progressively growing speaks to, I mean, like Josh said, like Rodney is a great leader, and he's really allowed Josh to like have success. And to the second part, I don't think we've touched on it yet. If the drivers can kind of find a home in 2025, forgive me if I'm getting ahead of myself there on that one, but yeah, Harvick carried it for sure, and Childers too.
I think absolutely as well that some of the drivers there can find a seat. I think Josh Berry, I've personally championed him for a couple of seasons now. We did that debut last year, of course, with the wildcard entries this year. I think he's gone really well. We've seen him do some amazing moves. As a young talent, I don't think there's going to be too many non-opportunities, let's put it. There's going to be many teams out there going like, okay, we'll take him. But it's everybody else in the team that you sort of go, really? You're going to take your time?
It doesn't also help that this year, particularly so far, it's been a Chevrolet and Toyota benefit generally, hasn't it? And they are not even the second Ford team in the pecking order now. They are probably third. going through the season, with Penske obviously running that train. I've just come up with another thinking while Jonathan was doing his answer there. Another memory, an SHR memory, again involves Kevin Harvick. Was the first sporting event back after the COVID yellow flag was that race at Darlington, the Real Heroes 400 of 2020, and Kevin Harvick won. And
That's
then
right.
the world was back. We had motorsport back, we had NASCAR back, and Kevin Harvick was the first winner post-pandemic. That was a cool race.
I like that phrasing, the COVID yellow flag. But yeah, you look at that driver lineup. I mean, it's a pretty solid driver lineup. You know, Josh Berry and especially with Rodney Childers. I think those two are going to find a home somewhere. I think Gregson's going to find a home for sure. Briscoe definitely. He's got the talent of the backers as well. Priest, I'm a little nervous about just because I don't think the numbers have been there, and also I don't think. I mean, he's really dug for sponsorship, so I'm a little worried about him. But I know he's going to have a solid home, like in some sort of racing series. He's too talented not to.
We saw Priest, was it last year or the year before, came in the truck series for like 2 races and won both of them or something straight out of the bat. So he would fit in a truck team or an Xfinity team, a good Xfinity or truck team, and be a championship contender. That's for sure if you can't get a cup ride.